Hi, I'm Davin, and this is a series of videos that talk about making web series, and in particular, Silver Cord, and in particular, the teaser that we've just made and released. And I have with me the face that you've seen, if you've seen the teaser, Tess Degenstein. Hey, Tess,
Hello.
how are you doing?
Pretty good. Sunday morning.
Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Obviously, thanks so much for being a part of this project. I want to talk to you a little bit about what it's like to be a performer these days, some of the work you've done, and then we'll get around to talking about your involvement in Silver Cord, which is maybe deeper than people might expect.
Hmm.
Let's first talk about you as a performer. What do you do in this world?
I don't know. I sit in my house these days.
Yeah.
Go from room to room, wondering
Mm-hmm.
what the meaning of life is.
Mm-hmm.
Not unlike our heroine in Silver Cord.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I did like my past life involved a lot of stage work, and so
Yeah.
that's kind of there's been an extended hiatus for that stuff. A lot of improv, a lot of comedy. And yeah, and then kind of dabbling into film and TV when between theater contracts, which was always yeah, always really nice.
Yeah, I think one thing that particularly, I mean, I wanted to work with you again after we worked on an old web series, Space Janitors, years back, and I had seen you do lots of comedy at the Comedy Bar here in Toronto. I mean, obviously, one of the things that I was looking for, as you can tell from the trailer, is that one person has to carry a lot of weight. It's oftentimes going to be just one person in front of the camera. And so I was thinking, what performers do I know who can pull that off? And then it came to me, I think I know some people who are involved in like one person plays or one, two, three person plays. And you
Yeah.
were one of those people. Tell us a little bit about that work that you do.
Well, I've never actually done a complete solo show,
Hmm.
but I have done this show for quite a while called Blind Date, which is it's an improvised show, and there's a small cast, but it's predominantly this clown character called Mimi who I play, and an audience member. And Mimi and the audience member throughout the course of the show form some kind of bond or attachment
Oh my
and go
God.
through like a whole story arc together. And they lead me and I lead them. And I guess I really I haven't done like a lot of solo performing. I
Yeah.
did get used to like standing backstage and then just like stepping out on stage and
Oh my God.
it just being me not knowing what was going to happen.
I could spend 2 hours asking you questions about this. um,
It was a great experience. And when
yeah.
we had our first meeting about Silver Cord, I had just finished a big run of doing Blind Date. I just finished, I think, doing
Hmm.
100 shows in BC. And so you were like, I'm looking for someone who can, yeah, take the lead in some ways. And at that time, I was like, yeah, I feel super capable.
Yeah.
After 2 years spent wandering around my house,
Hmm.
different place, but it's
No,
what
no
it is.
problem. Well, let's talk a little bit about the first time we talked about the show, because the teaser is one thing, but we've talked about the series before that. And
Yeah.
one person I haven't mentioned in any of these interviews yet is Ellie Moon, who's co-writing. The three of us have kind of had some meetings. So tell me a little bit about what it was like to hear about the show. Some of your first thoughts, what you remember from some of those first meetings talking about your character.
Yeah, I mean, I think it went through a bunch of different incarnations because you just had this image of like a woman in a room. And that's kind of where it started. And then the three of us just bounced ideas off each other for a while. And like, why is she in this room? Is this a mythological thing? Is she a manifestation of her own? Like, is it a woman grappling with her own identity? And so we're doing a kind of expressionistic take on that narrative. So we went through a bunch of different conversations and then landed somewhere that I think is a cool kind of combination of a lot of those things that combines like symbols and mythological aspects, religious kind of symbology, I guess.
Yeah.
And then also, uh, yeah, has like a real world connection.
Yeah. And we're in light spoiler territory. That means if you're watching this, we're not going to spoil the show. We're only going to tell you about stuff you kind of have seen from the trailer. But it's a complicated show for me, and I imagine for you being involved in the creatives as well as a performer, in that, we've talked about some of the pretty heavy topics we might want to conquer in this show. And I mean, some of it's personal for me in the sort of struggle with religion that I had in my younger years,
Hmm.
and there's a little bit of like yelling at God involved in the show. I think
Hmm.
some of it is outside my wheelhouse, but it's more matters dealing with feminine body horror. There's all kinds of interesting things that we're going to talk about. I remember on our list we had like basically what are the 15 terrible things that could happen to a person, and any one of these like conflicts might have been a way that we went down with the show. And I think in the end, we ended up with something that I'm really proud of, and I think is going to be really interesting and plumb some interesting depths.
And I think it's cool that you went to kind of that you were looking into the theater world
Hmm.
to flesh out the show, like that you did. I don't know that you saw a play that I was in and we met afterwards to talk about it, or also that, you were asking like who are some playwrights who
Hmm.
kind of who you're really excited about. And that's how Ellie Moon got her start as well. She's now writing films and starring in her own films and is just like really taking off in a way that's very wonderful.
Yeah.
But at the time was she was known predominantly, I think, as a playwright. And yeah, and she's, I don't know, her for anyone watching this, she's got a compilation of plays that's called Asking for It.
Hmm.
And her work tackles a lot of really hard stuff with a lot of complexity and nuance. So she seemed like a great person to collaborate with on the project.
Yeah, it's a great group, the three of us. I'm really enjoying tackling
Fun.
this.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the actual filming of this teaser.
Yeah.
I can't remember how it all happened, if I sent you a script early or there was this animatic, this kind of like animated trailer that I had put together. I think I had some music, some ideas. It ended up as a storyboard. What do you remember from like the first time you heard about what we were trying to do and some of your reactions to all of that?
Yeah, I think it was the animatic
Hmm.
that you'd sent first. And I just thought it looked, I was so excited by how, like, it's gonna come out, but how, like, Lord of the Rings it was, like, how kind of, like, epic it was.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that, I don't know, that it was just something I hadn't really done something like in that world before.
I'm always a little concerned about like what it's like as a performer when I'm telling you, Tess, okay, you're gonna have a cord stuck out your back, you're gonna lie down in this field of mushrooms, and you're gonna back up against this fake well. Like it takes a lot of faith on your behalf to trust, a director and a team like this was such a bizarre idea.
Oh, it's so
Um,
fun. Like
yeah.
I love gunk in general. Like
Oh,
I don't
good.
know, it had a real, and it was always like there was a real clarity of vision. You weren't like,
Mm.
yeah, can you just put some mud on you? We'll figure it out later. Like it was the vision was always so clear that it
Mm.
felt like I could just kind of give into it and enjoy getting dirty. Also, like as like I feel like so much about this industry is about where you're told to look like beautiful all the time. So
Mm.
it was also really nice just to be like truly gunked up and lying in mushrooms
Oh,
and
sure.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and being asked to kind of just I don't know, be like have a kind of bigger bodily experience that
Yeah.
wasn't just like make your face look still and gorgeous.
In a weird way, in a way that will become more clear when you see the show, this is actually a little bit of a birth scene in an
Oh
odd
yeah.
way. And
Oh
so
yeah.
that was one of the ways that we landed on all the gunk is it's just supposed to be moist and muddy and rough and tumble and I mean the first time we see you once you wake up you're coughing and it was supposed to be as if there was fluid in your lungs. It's a very heady kind of approach to introducing a character.
Yeah, I loved the breaking of the cord, and
Mhm.
there was like I don't know if was that jam or ketchup.
Oh, it was a mix of stuff. There was a tiny bit of real meat.
There was, so I don't remember that, but I just remember being like it looked so Cronenbergy. It was
Yeah.
yeah, it was great.
I think it was maybe 1 part in 10 chicken, and then
Oh
eight part
wow,
in 10 jam and a little bit of
yeah,
ketchup
there was
thrown in
like
there.
fig jam or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah. I think some melons maybe crushed in there.
But yeah, I like that too because it was just like clearly not CGI.
Yeah.
It's just like having fun with the yeah with actual tactile stuff, which is
Uh,
great. Literally in like a sandbox, but like a mud
yeah.
box.
Our own little sandbox.
Yeah.
There was some scenes that when I was looking at the monitors surprised me because we hadn't talked. I'd talked a lot about kind of an emotional journey you were on because we were filming out of order, and I wanted to do my best to give you a sense of emotionally where the character was in each little shot.
Mhm.
But when you cried in a few shots, when I saw tears, I almost it caught my breath in those shots, and they're so beautiful. There's two in particular that come to mind. The first, when the character is looking at her hands, which are newly created, and feels the warmth of a strange sun, and looks over to the sun, and tears start rolling out of your eyes. Was that you or was that makeup? What the
I don't
process for
remember.
getting to tears there? Do you remember?
Why? Because we were like quite, because I had been involved with the creative process before
Yeah.
just like showing up on set. I felt like there was lots of things to draw on,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you're thinking about like, I don't know, this might sound pretentious, but like that when you're thinking about like parent-child relationships, and
Yeah.
we had talked about it as a birth scene, and like the son as mother, and like all of those things are, I don't know, if you kind of tap into them, that I felt like there was stuff there to kind of that was coming up that I was like, oh, I could use that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I also had some mud in my eyes as well.
Well, I certainly appreciate it. That it elevated the concepts around that scene,
Oh,
and
that's nice.
I think it adds a lot of emotion to what is otherwise a pretty difficult trailer to kind of grab onto anything tangible.
Right, yeah, it is it
Yeah.
is very teasery.
Well, look, I want to thank you so much for playing around in this little sandbox. I'm very much looking forward to the bigger production once we get greenlit and we go to it. And I'm looking forward to working with you and Ellie on creating this crazy character that we've come up with. And
Aw, thanks, Davin. It's such a pleasure. This is so nice.
oh, it's our pleasure. Well, thanks, Tess, for joining
Okay.
us, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, take care.
Bye.
Bye.